All right, so we're diving deep today, folks, into how to absolutely crush that import-export specialist interview. The one in the world of sugar, chocolate, and all those delicious sugar confectionaries.
We've got your notes and some seriously good insights from RoleCatcher's AI.
So let's unpack what you're up against and,
Yeah.
yeah, get you ready to give some killer answers.
Exactly. We'll be tackling those common interview questions you're likely to hear.
Plus, we'll sprinkle in some insider info on where this role can really take you.
And hey, we'll even show you how RoleCatcher can give you that extra edge. It's like having a secret weapon for your job search, powered by AI.
Sounds pretty sweet to me. Let's get this deep dive started.
All right.
So first things first. This import-export specialist role, it's all about being the expert on moving those sweet treats across borders. Think customs regulations, mountains of paperwork,
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of paperwork involved.
and maybe even a little bit of, international intrigue.
Definitely a dynamic field, global reach, and the demand for specialists like you, it's high.
Which is why acing this interview is so important.
Super important, makes all the difference.
Now, you provided some sources, and they highlight some key skills that you're going to want to showcase. Active listening, reading comprehension, speaking,
All those communication skills.
and of course, knowing those import-export laws inside and out.
Absolutely. Got to know the rules of the game.
I mean, it makes sense. You'll be talking to all sorts of people from different countries, deciphering those complex documents.
Sometimes it feels like you're learning a whole new language.
Right. And of course, you got to make sure everything is squeaky clean, legally speaking.
Compliance is key. No room for errors there.
All right, let's jump right into some sample questions that you might encounter. This first one, it's a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career in import-export?
Oh, yeah. They almost always start with that one. It's the why this field question.
Yeah, but don't let that fool you. This is your chance to shine.
It really is. This is where you show them your passion.
What sparked your interest? And don't hold back on the details.
Yeah.
Genuine enthusiasm, that goes a long way.
It really does. They want to see that spark in your eyes.
So think about what truly resonates with you about import-export. Is it that global aspect? Is it the challenge of navigating all those regulations?
Maybe it's the satisfaction of seeing a shipment arrive perfectly right on time.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget to connect it back to your skills and experience, like how your past roles have prepared you for this.
Show them how your background makes you a perfect fit.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. You've got to tailor your answer to this specific role, right? We're talking sugar, chocolate, confectionery.
That's right, the sweet stuff.
Are you fascinated by the journey those cocoa beans take? How they transform from bean to bar?
That's a great angle.
Let them know. Okay, what if they follow up with something like, can you share a specific experience that really solidified this interest?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's where a compelling story comes in handy.
Yeah, definitely. Have a story ready that really showcases your passion and how it led you to this point. Make it personal, make it memorable.
Exactly. Stories are powerful. They stick with people.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Now, what's the next question I should be ready for?
Let's tackle this one. How do you keep up with changing regulations and policies? Because, let's be real, the import-export world is constantly evolving. You need to show them that you're proactive about staying up to date.
Right, you're on top of your game, always learning.
Always. So how do you do that?
So should I mention specific resources?
Yeah.
Like industry publications, trade associations?
Yes, but don't just drop names. Give a specific example. Like, how did you actually USE that information?
Okay. So show them how you've adapted to a recent change, maybe a new regulation or something.
Exactly. Prove that you're a lifelong learner.
Got it. Okay. What about this question? How do you ensure that shipments are delivered on time and, of course, in compliance with all those regulations?
This is a big one. This one's all about your logistic skills, your problem-solving abilities.
Yeah, you got to think on your feet.
Walk them through your process, step by step. How do you track shipments, anticipate potential issues, and of course, make sure everything is compliant?
So it's not just about knowing the rules. It's about thinking ahead.
Being proactive. Preventing problems before they even arise.
Now, what if they ask, have you ever faced a situation where a shipment hit a snag?
How'd you handle it?
Right, exactly. How did you handle it?
This is where you shine. Have a real-life example ready, a time when you saved the day. Show them you can think on your feet, get things back on track.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move on to another question. How about this one? How do you negotiate pricing and payment terms?
Negotiation.
Right.
That's a crucial skill in this role.
It really is. You're dealing with suppliers, clients, maybe even customs officials. They want to know you can strike a good deal, but also maintain those positive relationships.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. So tell them about your negotiation style. Are you collaborative? Are you results-oriented?
And of course, a success story. Back it up with an example. What was the challenge? What was your strategy? And what was the outcome?
Always have a story to illustrate your point.
All right, now for a question that's all about your expertise. How do you ensure compliance with customs regulations and avoid those potential issues?
Yes, the deep knowledge question. This is where you prove you're not just following the rules, you're anticipating them, preventing problems before they even pop up.
So mention those compliance programs you've implemented. Any specific strategies you've used?
And bonus points if you can demonstrate awareness of the common pitfalls, especially those specific to this industry.
Right, sugar, chocolate, all that deliciousness.
And gotta know those nuances.
That's really helpful.
Huh.
Okay, we're on a roll here.
We are.
We've got more questions to cover.
Plenty more.
But the approach is similar, right? Clear explanations, real examples.
Tailoring it to this specific industry.
Show them you're a leader, you're a strategist, and you're a problem solver.
Exactly. And remember, you can dive deeper into any of these on RoleCatcher. They've got guides for all of these questions.
Oh, that's right. RoleCatcher, it's like having a career coach in your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay, before we tackle the next set of questions, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the career path. It's good to show them you're thinking about the long game, right?
Absolutely. They want to see you're ambitious, you're looking ahead.
So you ace the interview, you land the job. What's next?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide, it outlines the various career stages. From entry level all the way up to senior specialist, each stage has those typical responsibilities, even example profiles, so you can see where you fit in.
That's really helpful, like a roadmap for your career. And there's even a whole section on boosting your career, certifications, networking tips, showcasing your wins.
It's packed with valuable advice.
Okay, speaking of success, let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI magic. From what I see, their platform analyzes job descriptions.
It does. It helps you tailor your resume, even provides feedback on your interview answers.
So it really is like having that personalized career coach.
Yeah.
Their AI can help you identify those skills gaps.
To suggest improvements to your resume, even analyze your video rehearsals to give you feedback on your delivery, your presence.
Talk about a confidence booster.
It is. It's amazing.
Okay, before we get too carried away with the AI magic, let's get back to those interview questions. What else should I be prepared for?
All right, let's dive into another round of those challenging questions. You ready?
Hit me with them. I'm ready for anything.
Okay, let's see what we've got. All right, let's explore a question that really assesses how well you understand those all-important legal documents. What is a bill of lading, and why is it so crucial in import-export?
Okay, bills of lading. I know they're important documents for sure,
Absolutely essential.
but I could definitely use a little refresher here. Can you break it down for me?
Of course, happy to. A bill of lading, think of it as a contract between the shipper and the carrier.
Okay, the shipper and the carrier. Got it.
It outlines all those nitty-gritty details of the shipment, like what kind of goods are we talking about, how much is there, where is it going, and all those terms of transportation.
Right, makes sense.
But it's not just a contract, it's also like a receipt. It shows proof of ownership.
Ah, okay. So if they ask me about bills of lading, I should hit on those three main points: contract, receipt, and proof of ownership.
Exactly. 3 key functions.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask me about this?
They might throw in something about the different types of bills of lading.
Oh, right.
Like, what's the difference between a straight bill of lading and a negotiable one?
Okay.
Or they might want to know about specific information that's usually included in a bill of lading. Be ready to discuss details like the consignee, the notified party, and don't forget those Inca terms.
Okay, got it. I'm jotting these down. Sounds like I need to do a little homework on those different types of bills of lading and all the lingo they use in those documents.
Yeah, a little review never hurts.
What's next on the list of tricky questions?
Okay, let's tackle another one related to documentation. What are customs forms and how are they used in import-export? This one really gauges how well you understand customs procedures.
All right, customs forms.
Yep, those are super important for getting stuff through customs.
Crucial, but I'm not sure I could give a clear explanation.
No worries, I'll walk you through it. So, customs forms, think of them as official documents required by the government.
Okay, official documents, government stuff.
And they're all about regulating and keeping track of goods crossing international borders, like what's coming in, what's going out.
So basically, they help keep things organized and above board.
Exactly. Now, these forms provide all sorts of details about the shipment, like what's in it, what's it worth, where did it come from, where's it going, all that good stuff.
Makes sense so the customs officials can do their job.
Right. It helps them assess duties and taxes, make sure everything complies with the rules, and keep those imported goods safe and secure.
Ah, so customs forms are how governments keep track of what's coming in and out
Hmm.
and enforce all those import-export regulations.
Precisely.
What if they ask about specific types of customs forms?
Be ready to rattle off a few, like the commercial invoice, the packing list, the certificate of origin.
Those ring a bell.
And of course, be prepared to explain what they're all about.
Right, of course.
Like the commercial invoice, that's a super detailed breakdown of everything in the shipment and how much it's all worth.
So it's like a shopping list, but official.
Exactly. And the certificate of origin, that confirms where the goods were made.
Got it. So knowing those different types of customs forms and what they do, that's key for this role.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned earlier that RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor answers for specific roles. How exactly does that work?
RoleCatcher's AI, it's like a super smart assistant. It analyzes the job description, figures out what the company really wants.
So it's reading between the lines.
Exactly. So for this import-export role in the sugar, chocolate, and confectionery world, it might say, hey, highlight your knowledge about specific customs forms for food imports.
Ah, so it's giving you those insider tips, those little nuggets of information that can make you stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. It's all about giving you that extra edge.
That's super helpful. It's like having a personalized guide for crafting the perfect answers.
It really is.
Okay, what's the next question I should be ready for?
All right, let's move on to one that really tests your problem-solving skills.
All right, bring it on. I'm ready for a challenge.
Well, imagine this. A shipment of cocoa beans is delayed because of a port strike. How would you handle that situation?
Oh, wow. A port strike. That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It can be. This is where they want to see how you think under pressure. How do you find solutions when things go sideways?
Right. Show them I can stay calm and figure things out, even in a crisis.
Exactly. So first, acknowledge the challenge. What's the impact on the company? Then, walk them through the steps you'd take to address the situation.
Okay, so I should be prepared to talk about exploring alternative shipping routes, maybe negotiating with the carrier to speed things up once the strike ends.
Exactly.
And of course, communicating with the clients, letting them know what's going on, managing expectations.
Proactive communication is key. You don't want anyone left in the dark.
Right, definitely. So it's about showing them I can think critically, be resourceful, and find solutions, even when things get tough.
Exactly.
What if they follow up with, okay, but what factors would you consider when choosing a different shipping route?
That's your chance to show off your industry knowledge. Talk about transportation costs, how long it takes to get there. Are there any risks with the new route?
Oh, right. Good point.
And don't forget those temperature-controlled containers if we're talking about sensitive cargo like cocoa beans.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good point. Those cocoa beans need to be kept at the right temperature.
Exactly. You got to keep those beans happy.
Okay, that's really helpful. I hadn't thought about all the specific needs for shipping temperature-sensitive ingredients.
It's all about the details.
All right, hit me with the next question. I'm ready for it.
Okay, let's dive into one that tests your knowledge of those international trade agreements. What are Incoterms, and how do they impact import-export operations? This one delves into the legal side of global trade.
Okay, Incoterms. I've heard that term thrown around,
It's a big one.
but I'm not entirely sure what they are or how they actually work. Can you explain it in a way that's easy to understand?
Absolutely. So Incoterms, think of them as a set of rules created by the International Chamber of Commerce, like a universal language for international trade.
Okay, universal language. Got it.
And they define who's responsible for what in a global transaction, who pays for the transportation, who handles the insurance, who takes care of customs clearance.
Ah, so it prevents confusion and arguments between buyers and sellers.
Exactly. Everyone knows what they're responsible for up front. Now, they might ask you to explain specific Incoterms.
Okay, like what should I be prepared for?
Be ready to talk about FOB, that's free on board, or CIF, which stands for cost, insurance, and freight.
Okay, FOB and CIF. Got it.
Highlight how these terms determine who's responsible for costs and risks at different points in the shipping process.
All right, so I'll definitely brush up on those Incoterms. Sounds like Knowing the ins and outs of these terms is crucial for keeping those import-export operations running smoothly.
It really is. It's all about minimizing risks and ensuring clear communication.
Now, I'm curious about something you mentioned earlier. RoleCatcher's AI can actually give me feedback on my delivery and body language during practice.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, how does that actually work?
RoleCatcher's Copilot AI analyzes video recordings of you practicing your answers. It's like having a virtual coach giving you personalized feedback.
So I record myself answering the questions, and the AI watches and gives me pointers.
Exactly. It looks at things like eye contact, posture, hand gestures.
Wow, it's like having a personal stylist for my interview skills.
It even gives you feedback on your tone of voice and pacing. Are you speaking too fast, too slow?
That's incredible. It can really help you polish your presentation skills.
It's all about helping you make a strong impression.
Okay, I'm sold on this AI. It sounds like it can really boost your confidence going into those interviews.
It definitely can.
All right, let's get back to those interview questions. What else do I need to be ready for?
Let's tackle a question that gets into import quotas. What is an import quota, and how can it impact the import of sugar?
All right, import quotas. I know those are limits set by governments, right?
Exactly. Limits on the amount of specific goods that can be imported.
So they're basically trying to protect domestic industries or maybe control the supply of certain goods.
You got it. And with sugar, a government might use an import quota to make sure domestic sugar producers have a good chunk of the market.
Ah, so they're not completely shut out by cheaper imports.
Right. So if a country has a quota on sugar imports, only a limited amount can come in from other countries.
And that's usually during a specific time frame, right?
Exactly. Now, they might ask you about the consequences of import quotas. What are the good things? What are the bad things?
Okay, the pros and cons. Got it.
On the one hand, quotas can protect domestic jobs and industries. That's the plus side. But on the other hand, they can lead to higher prices for consumers.
Right, because there's less competition.
And if domestic supply can't meet demand, you might even see shortages.
Okay, so it's about understanding how these restrictions can affect both businesses and consumers.
Exactly. It's all connected.
What if they ask, how would you stay informed about any changes in import quotas for sugar?
That's where you show them you're on top of things. Mention those industry publications, like the International Sugar Journal.
Okay, the International Sugar Journal. Good one.
They cover everything happening in the sugar world, including trade policies. Or you could mention the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service.
The USDA. Okay, that makes sense. They definitely be on top of agricultural trade.
They publish reports on all that global trade stuff.
So knowing those resources, it shows them you're serious about staying up to date on everything happening in the industry.
Absolutely. It shows you're proactive and informed.
Okay, I'm ready for the next question. What do you got?
All right, let's dive into a question that explores how you handle those cultural differences, working with people from all over the world.
Oh yeah, cultural sensitivity is huge in this field.
Absolutely. So the question might be something like, how do you handle communication with suppliers or clients from different cultural backgrounds?
That's a good one. It's important to be respectful and understand that not everyone communicates the same way.
Exactly. They want to know you can build rapport, you can communicate effectively, avoid misunderstandings.
So what are some key things I should focus on when answering this question?
Emphasize active listening, being empathetic, and clear communication. Explain that you take the time to understand where the other person is coming from, that you're sensitive to those cultural nuances.
Right, like their customs and norms.
Exactly, and that you always aim to build trust and mutual respect in every interaction.
That's great advice. And real-life examples always help, right? I should have a story ready about a time when I successfully navigated a cross-cultural communication challenge.
Absolutely. A good story goes a long way. Show them you have the skills to thrive in a global environment.
Okay, I'll start thinking about some examples from my own experiences. Now, what about this question? How would you handle a situation where a shipment of chocolate is held up at customs because of some labeling issue?
Oh, that's a common one in the food industry. Labeling can be tricky. Different countries have different rules.
Exactly. Lots of regulations to keep track of.
This question is all about showing you know how to handle those compliance procedures and how you problem solve when things go wrong.
Right. So I should explain that I'd immediately reach out to the customs officials, find out what's going on, get all the necessary documents in order.
Exactly. And work closely with the supplier to fix those discrepancies ASAP.
Right. No time to waste when chocolate is at stake.
And don't forget to highlight your understanding of those labeling regulations, like you're familiar with the EU's strict rules for chocolate.
Ah, good point. What
Yeah.
kind of things are we talking about specifically?
Well, they require ingredient lists, allergen declarations, nutritional information. All those details have to be just right.
Right, right. Knowing those specific regulations proves I understand the complexities of importing food products into different countries.
It shows you've done your homework.
What if they follow up with, okay, what steps would you take to prevent these labeling issues in the future?
That's where you demonstrate that you're proactive, you're thinking ahead.
So not just fixing problems, but preventing them.
Exactly. You
Ah.
could talk about implementing quality control checks with suppliers, developing standardized labeling procedures.
Ah, so everyone is on the same page, using the right labels from the start.
Precisely. Or even using technology to automate the labeling process, minimize those errors.
Okay, so it's about showing them I'm not just reacting to problems, but actively trying to prevent them from happening in the first place. Now, you mentioned those career stages outlined in the RoleCatcher guide. Can we delve into that a bit more? I'm curious to see where this role can lead.
Absolutely. Let's explore how those career stages might look in the world of sugar, chocolate, and all those delightful confectionaries.
That sounds great. I'm ready to take a peek into the future.
All right, let's start with the transition from junior import-export specialist to intermediate.
Okay, so I imagine the junior level is all about learning the ropes, getting that hands-on experience.
Exactly. And then at the intermediate level, you start taking on more responsibility, more complex tasks.
And what might that look like in this industry?
Well, the jump to intermediate often involves some specialization. Maybe you focus on sourcing those cocoa beans ethically?
Ah, so I might become the ethical sourcing guru.
Exactly. Or maybe you manage the logistics of those temperature-sensitive chocolate shipments.
Keeping that chocolate in tip-top shape.
Or you become a master of those sugar import regulations.
Okay, so instead of being a jack of all trades, I might start to carve out my own niche within the confectionery world. What other transitions should I be aware of in this career path?
The next big leap is usually from intermediate to senior import-export specialist.
Ah, the big leagues.
At the senior level, you're not just managing processes, you're shaping strategies.
So it becomes more big picture thinking, less about those day-to-day tasks.
Exactly. You might be leading a team, maybe developing a brand new sourcing strategy for sustainable cocoa,
Wow, that's impressive.
or even identifying new markets for those confectionery exports.
So using my expertise to help the company grow and innovate.
That's the idea.
That's really exciting to hear. It's great to see how this role can offer those opportunities for leadership and making those strategic decisions.
There's a lot of potential for growth.
Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, dreaming about those senior level roles, let's get back to those interview questions. What else should I be ready for?
Okay, let's dive into some more challenging questions that might come up. Are you ready?
Bring it on. I'm ready for anything.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and explore a question that really tests your ability to handle those curveballs, those unexpected situations that pop up in the import-export world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of curveball are we talking about?
Imagine this. A major chocolate supplier, one you rely on, suddenly raises their prices. How do you respond to that challenge?
Oh, wow. A price hike from a key supplier. That could definitely throw a wrench in the works.
It could. This question is all about assessing your strategic thinking, how you weigh your options, and ultimately how you find solutions that protect the company's bottom line.
Right, so it's not just about panicking, it's about having a plan.
Exactly. So how would you approach answering this question?
Well, I'd start by acknowledging the impact of the price increase, how it could affect our production costs, maybe even our profit margins. And then I'd emphasize my commitment to finding the best possible solution for the company.
Good start. What would those solutions look like?
Well, I'd mention exploring alternative suppliers, maybe ones with more competitive pricing. Or I could try negotiating with the existing supplier, see if we can work out a better deal.
Those are good options. What else?
And I'd also consider reevaluating our own pricing strategy. Maybe we need to adjust our prices a bit to accommodate the increased costs.
Right. It's all about finding that balance. So you're showing them you can assess the situation, consider all the angles, and make those smart decisions that align with the company's goals.
Exactly. Now, what if they dig a little deeper and ask, how would you go about evaluating those alternative chocolate suppliers?
Ah, that's where you really get to showcase your knowledge of sourcing and supplier management. Talk about those key factors you'd consider.
Like what?
Well, you've got the supplier's reputation, their track record, Do they consistently deliver high-quality products?
Right. Quality is crucial, especially when we're talking about something like chocolate.
Exactly. You also need to consider their production capacity. Can they handle our volume? Their pricing, of course, and their overall reliability.
Can we count on them to meet our deadlines and fulfill our orders?
Precisely. It's all about finding that sweet spot between quality, price, and dependability.
Makes sense. And you mentioned earlier that RoleCatcher can actually help tailor my answers to specific job descriptions. How would their AI come in handy with this particular question?
RoleCatcher's AI is pretty amazing. It dives into the company's profile, job description, and pulls out those keywords, those key phrases that reveal what they're really looking for.
So it's like it's doing the research for me, figuring out what's important to this specific company.
Exactly. For instance, if they emphasize ethical sourcing or sustainability, the AI might suggest you highlight your experience with fair trade practices or your knowledge of sustainable cocoa farming.
Ah, so it's helping me align my answers with the company's values. That's really smart.
It's all about making sure your answers resonate with what they care about most.
Okay, I'm loving these AI-powered insights. What's the next question I should be ready for?
Let's tackle one that really tests your knowledge of those market dynamics. You ready?
Hit me with it.
Okay, here it is. What are some current trends in the global confectionery market that could impact the import-export of sugar, chocolate, and sugar confectionery products?
Ooh, okay. Market trends. I need to put on my industry analyst hat for this one.
Yeah.
What are some key trends I should have on my radar?
Well, there's a lot going on in the confectionery world. You've got the growing demand for premium and artisanal chocolates. People are willing to pay more for those high-quality, unique flavors.
Right, I've definitely noticed that trend.
And then you have the increasing popularity of healthier snacking options.
Like dark chocolate and sugar-free candies.
Exactly. People are becoming more health conscious. And there's also a rising interest in ethically sourced and sustainable ingredients.
Consumers want to know where their chocolate comes from and that it's been produced responsibly.
Absolutely. And don't forget about the booming e-commerce market for confectionery products.
Online shopping for sweets. That's definitely a thing.
It is. So it's important to demonstrate that you're not just aware of these trends, but that you understand how they might impact import-export operations.
Right, because these trends can influence everything from sourcing decisions to pricing strategies to marketing campaigns.
Exactly. It's all connected. What if they ask you to elaborate on a specific trend and its potential impact?
Okay, let's say they ask about that growing demand for ethically sourced cocoa. What would be a good way to approach that?
You could explain how this trend is driving the demand for certified cocoa beans, like those with fair trade labels. And those often come at a premium price.
Right, because there's more effort and cost involved in ensuring ethical sourcing practices.
Exactly. And this can impact everything from sourcing strategies to pricing decisions. Companies might need to adjust their sourcing practices, find new suppliers, or even rethink their pricing to reflect those higher costs.
And they might even highlight their commitment to ethical sourcing in their marketing campaigns to appeal to those conscious consumers.
Exactly. It's all about understanding those ripple effects.
That's a great example. It shows them that I'm not just knowledgeable about the trends, but also about the strategic implications for the import-export industry.
Exactly. You're demonstrating that you can think critically and connect the dots.
Okay, hit me with one more question. I think I can handle it.
All right, let's wrap up this deep dive into interview questions with one that focuses on you, your personal growth, and your commitment to continuous learning. Ready?
Bring it on. I'm all about continuous learning.
Good to hear. This one might sound something like this. What are some steps you take to stay up to date with industry trends and best practices in import-export? It's your chance to showcase your dedication to professional development.
Okay, so they want to know I'm not just going to rest on my laurels once I get the job. I'm going to keep learning and growing.
Exactly. They're looking for someone who's proactive, curious, always striving to be better.
So what are some concrete examples I could share?
Well, you can mention that you're a regular reader of those industry publications we talked about earlier, like the International Sugar Journal, the Cocoa Barometer Report.
Right, staying on top of those market trends and regulatory changes.
Exactly. And what about attending industry conferences, webinars, workshops? There are so many opportunities to learn from the experts and network with other professionals.
Those are great points. I could even mention specific courses or certifications I've taken, like a certification in customs compliance or a course on global supply chain management.
Perfect. Highlighting those concrete actions shows them you're serious about staying ahead of the curve.
It proves I'm investing in my professional growth. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. What are your final words of wisdom for anyone gearing up for that import-export specialist interview in the sweet world of sugar, chocolate, and confectionery?
My advice: embrace the sweetness of this industry while showcasing your sharp skills. Let them see your passion for those delicious products, your deep understanding of the import-export process, and your unwavering commitment to quality, compliance, and ethical conduct.
That's great advice. It's all about combining passion with expertise.
Exactly.
And remember, folks, preparation is key. Dive into those industry resources, practice your answers, and let that enthusiasm shine through.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher. Their AI-powered platform can give you that extra boost, that personalized guidance to help you really stand out.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher can be your secret weapon in this job search. Well, there you have it. Your personalized deep dive to help you conquer that import-export specialist interview. We've explored those common questions, tackled those tricky scenarios, and even sprinkled in some insights to help you map out your career path.
We're confident you'll walk into that interview feeling prepared, confident, and ready to impress.
You've got the knowledge, you've got the skills, and with a little help from RoleCatcher, you've got the edge. Good luck, you've got this. And hey, when you land that dream job, remember to send us a thank you note, preferably in the form of some delicious imported chocolate.
We'll be waiting.